Good morning. Today we're going to be doing an activity on being able to identify the main idea in a reading passage. So really the most important thing is when you're reading a story passage, what you want to do is you want to find what is the purpose of this passage. There might be some little details that you think are important, but what is most important is to really just look at the entire passage, even if you have to reread it several times, and really just say to yourself, what is this story or what is this reading passage trying to tell me? What is the main idea of this? So what I'm going to be doing in this video is going through two 1 to 2 paragraph story passages, and we're just going to identify the main idea together. Okay, here we go. So the story is about New Guinea singing dogs, and I'll read it out loud. New Guinea singing dogs are probably one of the rarest and unusual wild dogs in the world. Their histories go back 6,000 years. They have remained mostly unchanged since they have lived in basically one area of the world. Their howls are like no other canines. Each singing dog has its own pitch. Singing dogs are related to the Australian dingo, but they are smaller and more flexible. They can climb trees and jump like cats. Their eyes reflect green in low light. Interestingly, their upper first molars are quite large like wolves, but these dogs are not nearly as fierce. They can live with humans, however, they live 15 to 20 years and must be closely monitored and kept active. They don't make good pets for children. Singing dogs have a strong drive to hunt and are fearless. Their prey includes small reptiles and small mammals. They have even tried to catch young cassowary birds, which are quite fierce. Truly, these animals are an unusual world treasure. Okay, so now on the side here, it says the main idea, and there are 2 options. So let's read them. Option 1, singing dogs are related to the Australian dingo. Option 2, singing dogs are the rarest and most unusual dogs in the world. Okay, so if we look at the first paragraph, our first sentence says that New Guinea singing dogs are probably one of the rarest and unusual wild dogs in the world. And then throughout the paragraph, it talks about their history, and it mentions how they are rare and unusual dogs, right? And they even mention a lot of other characteristics throughout the entire reading passage. So this one sounds pretty good, but we don't want to absolutely cross it out. We want to just make sure that this is not the answer, the first one, before we make our selection, right? So this first one here says, singing dogs are related to the Australian dingo. It does, in the beginning of the second paragraph, say that. Singing dogs are related to the Australian dingo, but they are smaller and more flexible. But that's really all this reading passage mentions about the Australian dingo. So if I were choosing the main idea, I would choose the second one. Singing dogs are the rarest and most unusual dogs in the world. And the reason I would be choosing this is because the entire reading passage gives you a lot of different explanations and reasons of how the New Guinea singing dog is a very rare and unusual dog. So let's choose the second option and see if we are correct. And we are. Awesome. So now it wants us to pick a selection, a text that proves that the main idea is. So they don't make good pets for children. That is something that was mentioned. They can climb trees and jump like cats. That is also something that was mentioned. And singing dogs have a strong drive to hunt and are fearless. Okay, so if we remember what our main idea is, our main idea is of this reading passage is that the New Guinea singing dog is a very unusual dog and one of the rarest wild dogs out there. So which of these three options makes which makes a dog unusual or rare? Well, they don't make good pets for children. That can be true, but there are also wild dogs other than the New Guinea singing dog, so that might not be the best option. Option 2, they can climb trees and jump like cats. I don't know many dogs that can climb trees and jump like cats, so I think this might be a good option, but let's check option 3. Option 3, singing dogs have a strong drive to hunt and are fearless. But while that is true, there are many wild dogs out there that do hunt and are quite fearless. So I think since the main idea is that the New Guinea singing dog is one of the most rarest and unusual dogs out there, I think number 2, they can climb trees and jump like cats, is very unusual and rare. Let's try it. All right, great. And lastly, we just need to choose yes or no. So if you were reading this reading passage and you came across this question and you weren't quite sure, this would be a good time to go back to the reading passage and read through it again just to make sure that you choose the correct answer. So yes or no, singing dogs make good pets for children. So let's think. From what I remember, the idea of the article or the reading passage was that they are rare and unusual dogs. It did mention that it's possible that they could be pets. However, they are very active and they live from 15 to 20 years. Also, let's think about this. Like we read in the last section, we chose that the New Guinea singing dog can climb trees like a cat. So that's something to think about. Do you think a New Guinea singing dog would be a good pet for your house if this dog is very active and likes to climb trees? I'm not sure about that. And in the passage, it did say that although they can be pets, it wasn't necessarily recommended because of how active the dogs need to be and also their very long lifespan. So after reading the passage and kind of taking the main idea into consideration, right here we are going to choose no, singing dogs do not make good pets for children. And let's see. Perfect. All right, and then that would be a second reading passage for about another dog, but we're just going to do one just so we can understand the importance. So again, when we are trying to figure out the main idea, whether it's in a story or a reading passage, one of the most important things is to really read the entire passage or the entire story. And there might be some fine details that we think are important, but we really have to analyze what we're reading and find kind of like a theme. What is the main idea of this story? So although the story that we read about the New Guinea singing dog did mention that they were similar to an Australian dingo, that was just one sentence of the reading passage. That wasn't what the entire reading passage was about. So then you really have to read through and think, what is this about? And that story was about how rare and unusual those dogs were. Okay, so thank you for joining me on a lesson about being able to identify pertinent information within a story. I hope that this information was helpful and that you have a great day.